order? In that case, we can call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. on January 4th, 2023. I'm Dan Keller. I'm acting as the chair tonight for the request of Lori DiDonato, who's not feeling so well. And I'll be acting as the chair pro tem. And the first item of business is the roll call and call to order. So like I said, I'm Dan.
And Gillian Bedine, select board member.
Lori DiDonato is here.
Okey-doke, that amounts to the roll call for the official officers that are here. Any announcements from anyone?
Oh, I did have an announcement. Seal Madeleine, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce her last name, but she's on the planning board. She's planning to step down, so they will be looking for someone to fill that seat. So just they wanted me to alert you and also, I guess, the public that that there's a vacancy. There will be a vacancy.
Are you hearing the disruption in the audio?
I'm not.
No,
It's probably our owl, imagine.
Sounds
We're
bad
not
on your
hearing you.
end, huh?
We're not hearing you guys clearly. All of a sudden, you're starting to break up.
Right, I'm gonna just mute it and unmute it, see if it makes a difference.
Okay.
Any-
Just turn it off and make your day.
Okay, try again.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3.
Ooh,
You're warbly.
Yeah,
Could someone
Is
else
it-
say something? Maybe it's in
is
case
it
it's
just
just me.
Glenn or is it all of us?
it's
It's all
you.
of you.
It's owl.
Oh, owl.
Can we pause for a moment so I can try restarting it again?
Sure.
Yep.
Mhm.
Doesn't seem to be doing it. Say something now.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
More testing, more testing.
In the musical Rent, they say
It
something.
wasn't
And they
doing
say,
it before.
Right, it wasn't doing it before. I don't know why it is all of a sudden.
oh, that's frustrating.
You want to shut down the computer? Restart it?
The other option I could imagine would be you all could dial into Zoom with Gillian's speakerphone or something.
Can I just try unplugging again?
Yep. I'll pause the recording and they don't need to see all of this.
Improvement.
Okey doke. So we had one announcement that Seal is stepping down from the planning board. And Glenn, when should she be stepping down?
I can look it up, but I think it's in April or something.
For the next election? Or
Yeah.
any further announcements?
Just an item about the agenda. Cliff was interested in joining for the tree discussion. He could join at 7:30, it sounds like, but later would be better for him. So wondering if we might schedule that for a particular time and maybe later than 7:30.
7:45?
Sure, I'll write to him and let him know that.
No further announcements? Okey doke, then we'll skip ahead to public comment. Do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, we can move on to select board updates and comments. The only item I have is the culvert on Mormon Hollow Road, which turns out to be an evolving problem. For either the problems in the construction or the design, the whole input section of the culvert is washing out, so that water is now running under the culvert footings on the input side, threatening the very stability of the culvert. And we've had back and forth with Davenport and SVE, the engineer. And at the moment, they seem to be blaming each other. But the main thing is to get it fixed so it doesn't do further damage. So Phil is pursuing getting it fixed as soon as possible. And that means engineering a fix for it. So that's in progress. I was up there looking at it today, and it's a serious problem. It's getting worse pretty rapidly. So I think Phil's doing a great job of approaching it the right way. Any further select board updates?
Looks like
Um,
Carolyn
I-
has a question.
oh.
Carolyn?
I do, regarding the culvert, is there a surety bond on that project? Do you know?
That was a $500,000 plus project, so I'd be surprised if there were not a surety bond, but I don't know for sure.
All right, well, I did write to Phil, after I spoke with him briefly today, and just mentioned that to him. But that is definitely something that should be investigated if, there is any further repair that's needed.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I think that's why they have those.
Yeah. Right, I'll check into that, Carolyn. Good idea. And there is a big repair needed. That's I had a friend up there today who's done a lot of road work, and he estimated $100,000 to repair it. So I'll look into the surety bond.
The only other thing I had was that the town newsletter is just about ready to go out. Waiting for one update from one person, and then hopefully we can get that sent out tomorrow is my hope, to the
Great.
printer. So,
Did we get any comments back on the select board
no,
little article that I wrote?
No.
So that looks okay.
Yep.
Great,
I plugged it in there.
great.
Front page.
I did. It's always
think.
good to be on the front page.
Right.
Any further select board updates? Seeing none, we can go on to select board meeting and warrant schedule review. Glenn has posted that on the agenda here. The next meeting is January 18th. There is a warrant signed today. It's already been signed, Carolyn, by 2 people, and put in your mailbox. So that's ready to go. And then the next warrant, that would be the 18th.
I am noticing that Martin Luther King Day is on the 16th. That's the Monday before our meeting, so we'll have to have it posted by the 13th.
I'll make sure that happens.
Thanks, Glenn. Anything further on the meeting and warrant schedule? Okay, very good. The next is reports, and I don't see Phil here at the moment.
Penny just said she was gonna let him know. He was thinking there wasn't a meeting tonight, so.
Oh, okay. We can wait on that. I know that Phil could probably use the night off because he's
Yeah.
really been working on this culvert. It's been a little stressful with these contractors. Any report from the town coordinator?
Sure. At the last meeting, you all asked me to start reaching out to Audubon or DCR or Land Trust about the property on Gate Road or Gate Lane, I can't remember. And Dan Leahy saw that meeting and already initiated a meeting with multiple parties to discuss that. So that was happening today, just so you all know that follow-up was happening. And also the gentleman you referred me to inquire about a bid or what a proposal for boarding that place up has already been to the property and is going to give us a proposal, as well as the proposal that's in your packet for tonight. We'll talk about later about the cupola, and also the siding along the entry to the town offices. So, and I'll just say that the work with Entree has been helpful. I know it seems like a little thing, but I've been taking a thumb drive to the copier every time I need to scan something and then bringing it back to my desk and reloading it. They figured out how to create a direct connection between my printer and my laptop. So that's very helpful, and I'll spread the word to other people in the town offices that they can get that set up, since I know we all need to do a lot of scanning and sharing things electronically. So I think that's about all. I had a good vacation. Thanks to the select board and everybody for your efforts in my absence, and I'll get caught up on things as soon as I can.
Great, thank you, Glenn.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, we can wait to see if Phil shows up at some point. But not seeing him here now, I think we can move on to the consent agenda, which this week just consists of approval of the December 21st, 2022 meeting notes. And I can just say, Cynthia, that I think they're excellent as always and very complete.
Thank you.
Doing it. And any further comments on the meeting notes?
So I would make the motion that we approve the minutes from December 21st, 2022.
I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we can. Did I hear discussion?
No, I said no.
Okay, thank you. Then we can vote. All those in favor of approving those minutes from December 21st, 2022, say aye.
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 I guess I'll abstain.
Okay, so that motion passes with the majority of 2 votes. And we can move on to all business, which consists of tree hearings and wood bank. Now, we said maybe we'd wait for Cliff at 7:45, is that right?
Yep.
Well, yeah, we'll probably be here then. Town office painting project. I've had forgotten that Tom Chasen actually gave us a bid on that at one point, but it turns out that he did, I guess. And Glenn, do you have that bid?
Yep, it's in the packet for tonight. Let me pull it up
You have it in
here.
front of me. We need it.
Let's
Okay.
see.
Do you want me to read it?
It's-
I have it in front of me.
I got it. $1,200, and it would be to wash it, remove mold and dirt, and then prime it, side it with primer, caulk it, and then put on 2 layers of paint for $1,200. And the bid apparently is still good. He dropped it off again for me today. So
Great. That's really good. And I also can't remember if we had a town meeting article to fund this project at some point.
I don't think so, unless it was included in no, I don't believe it was, no. Oh, not
it's
since
not
I've been here.
Okay, then I think it's small enough that it will fit into building expense.
Okay,
The building expense column on the budget, which I think is funded for, I don't know, 10 or 20,000. I remember, I can check that here, but I'm quite sure that's true, and we have spent very little on it. So I would move that we approve Tom Chasen's bid for $1,200 and expend that money from the town building repair account or maintenance account, I guess it's called.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded.
I do have a question. I think I saw in some email that there was concern that we might need a gutter or something to make sure it doesn't happen again. Is that
That's for
something?
the siding.
Oh,
Yeah,
something
along
different.
this-
Oh, okay.
yeah. So as you enter the town offices on the left, you can see places where the siding is, or the side of the building is distressed. And Tom said that basically what's happening is the rain's falling hard off the side of the building and then it's splashing back up. And that's what's causing that. So he was saying that some kind of gutter system might be needed to divert the water to keep that from happening. And that kind of makes sense because after a heavy rain, like all of those bulletin boards are very like moist, like they get
Yeah.
really splashed. So that's a good explanation for what's going on over there. And doesn't seem to be happening anywhere else in the building.
Right, it's a peculiarity of that roof that goes right over the main entrance to the building. And there was some criticism of that design. I remember distinctly by Jim Slavis when it was originally proposed. And he said there would be a problem with water. And what do you know?
Mhm.
And so, Glenn, maybe we could ask Tom for a proposal also to put a gutter there.
Yeah, I'll make sure he knows to include the gutter in his proposal about the repair. Yeah, okay.
You know, you could ask him to make an additional quote on installing a gutter. And then
Oh, yeah,
when it comes time to do the painting in the spring, if we have approved it by then, you could just do everything at once.
okay, I
If
will.
he's willing to do the gutter, which I imagine he might be,
The gutter and the siding.
right?
We currently have $41,860 in the town building repairs line.
Yeah, that must be because we didn't spend any last year.
Yeah, because it was originally 27 and now and then it was revised
Yeah,
and now it's a total budget of 41.
that's great that that budget got moved forward then.
Yeah.
And that's really good. Good to have that there.
So time to take care of those repairs.
Yeah. Okey doke. On to new business. Special municipal,
I'm sorry, did we finish that vote?
uh,
No, you didn't.
oh,
Okay.
sorry. Right, okay, so we have
I think we had a second.
we did, Laurie seconded
Yeah.
it, I think, and we have a motion on the floor to approve $1,200 from the building maintenance account to fund Tom Chasen's bid on doing the painting of the cupola and the siding. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That passes unanimously. Voice vote.
Can I just make a clarification for the notes?
Please.
My understanding is that's just for the cupola painting, not the siding out here, just so that's clarified. So,
I thought it was for the siding too.
No, the quote that we have is just for the cupola. I've asked him to make a quote for the siding, but he hasn't done that yet.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So the
very good. So
1,200 is just for the cupola. Yeah.
I will accept the friendly amendment that we change that motion to $1,200 for the cupola. And now we can vote, I guess. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okey doke. Cupola only. And now, special municipal employee. Franklin
Yeah.
County Solid Waste District Board reps and alternates. What was that?
Yes,
Glenn?
this was a request from Jan Amin in the Franklin County Solid Waste people. And they gave us two motions to vote on. Basically, they just need the the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District representative to be designated as a special municipal employee, and the alternate representative to be a special municipal employee, and for reasons of conflict of interest, which I think everybody understands since we've done this before.
Yeah,
So,
you-
is it
you
okay to
could
just
do-
read those motions or one at a time?
Yeah, I think you could do that, or you could vote to approve both motions as presented. That would probably be acceptable as well.
yeah, I
Okay.
think, I think you stated it clearly enough, Lori. So I'll accept that as motion for both and second it.
Okay,
And is any discussion? Seeing none, we can vote on that. All in favor of making those two positions special municipal employees, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passes unanimously on a voice vote. Community,
thanks.
sorry, Laurie.
Good, thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Community One Stop for Growth, rural and small town designation. Lynn?
I think Gillian asked for this one, and this is just, I think Phil has referred to this in the past as an opportunity that went by last year. But it's basically a process where towns can put forward basically a sketch of an idea of something they might be interested in having funded and get essentially assistance from the state in determining which places might be the most beneficial to apply for and what to include in applications. So it's kind of gives you a leg up in a grant application process. I don't know, Gillian, if you have more you want to say about it.
I haven't taken the time to research it more thoroughly, but one of the things that perked my interest was, there's funding for culverts and things like that. So it seemed like if we could make sure that we participated in this so that we were eligible for funding possibly, that we should move ahead to do it. I do understand that there is the struggle of like who might be writing grants and who can take the time to really check this out. It sounds like we can express interest, submissions of interest until March 17th. And the full application is open this month. And there's some webinars coming up, but they haven't announced those dates. So I think it is something that we should take a little bit of time to look at a little bit more, but it also makes me want to reiterate the idea of hiring somebody, either stipending somebody to help us with writing some grants. And possibly using the ARPA funds to do that. Just throwing it out there. So I feel like there's opportunities for us to capture some funds for the town and help us with some projects that we need to work on. But I also know that we probably need some help in terms of being able to do that.
Yeah. So do you think we should advertise for a grant writer?
Maybe it's something we should bring up at the money managers meeting.
Yeah.
Which is coming up.
Yeah.
And have a conversation about that and see if because I think we'll be talking about the ARPA money there and
Right.
see if that's there's willingness to use some of that. And maybe, Glenn, I'm sorry to give you one more thing to do, but on your fabulous listserv, maybe you could throw out there to see if there are other communities that have been, I know some have, But if there's some communities who are using, who have searched for part-time grant writers, like on a stipend basis, not hiring a full-time grant writer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I kind of didn't want this to pass by us again this year.
Yep, good idea.
We
And
do
if-
have some time. I mean, basically, I've used a few hours of the time of the consultants we hired for the federal grants, who helped me figure out what I needed to do for ARPA paperwork, essentially your backup documentation. So they are also available to help us look for federal grants, just so you know. And Lori and Phil and I met with someone from the FERCog who's going to be doing some grant writing, and gave him a list of a lot of the projects we'd be interested in having funded, and looking forward to his report from our meeting, which will include that list to can share with you all, but also with the consultant we've already engaged. But I think that what Gillian's talking about is something different, like someone more local who could help with grants that don't require a PhD to apply for.
Right.
Yeah, okay, all good. And good idea to bring that up at the money managers meeting. Carolyn, can you add that on the list, on the agenda for the money managers meeting? If you're covering the agenda for that, if you're listening.
Sometimes
I
Carolyn,
already wrote myself a note.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Okey doke, is that good for item B?
Yes.
And item C is fire chief retirement. Hope that's not coming too quickly.
It's in October. So a couple of things that came up at the last public safety meeting. Based on all of our discussions, it seems like everybody's first choice is to just work with New Salem to come up to hire a new shared fire chief and have it be equally shared, like we've always wanted it to be. And Joe had said that maybe one good first step, I mean, we've already had all these conversations and New Salem does seem to be in agreement, but he thought one step would be to have both select boards vote saying that they are committed to having an agreement for a shared fire chief where the expenses would be shared equally between the two towns. So that was one thing that we wanted to have done tonight. So I don't know if that was clear enough, or if I should make another motion, or if anyone wants to have questions about that.
Do you know if FERCog or anybody has samples from other towns who have a shared chief?
There is a couple of towns in Eastern Mass, Mendon and Blackstone, that do have a shared chief. There are other towns that share chiefs, but don't have any kind of agreement, are similar to what we are doing now, where it's two part-time positions. This was the only one that I've found, or that we've found so far. So there is something out there that we can use as a model, but we've also thought about using Nancy's MOU as a model as well, to keep it even simpler. Although we're having a hard time finding that, finding the most current version.
That sounds good.
So you'd like us to make a motion to move ahead, or agree to move ahead with supporting the process of sharing the fire chief position with New Salem?
Right, with equal financial, the towns contributing equally financially. because that's the piece that's been missing for a while.
And well, I'll make that motion and then we can discuss.
Sure.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, so the motion's clear enough to everyone, including Cynthia?
Yes, I got it.
Great. Motion's been made and seconded that we pursue sharing the police chief position with New Salem. Sorry, the fire chief position, and that we share the expenses equally. Any discussion?
I guess I just had a question. How has been this, what has the split been currently? How have we been working it out? What is the history?
Split is that New Salem doesn't do any benefits, I believe. Wendell does all the benefits because they keep Joe under 20 hours purposefully, so they don't have to pay benefits.
Gotcha.
So just to be clear, this proposal would encourage New Salem to share equally the costs?
That's right.
Yeah,
And they have
Good.
said they will do this same motion or vote. Carolyn?
But one thing to keep in mind is when we shared that position that Nancy was involved with, she chose to have her benefits through New Salem because the percentage of certain things that they cover was slightly higher than Wendell. And so I just wanted you to keep that in mind when you're having your negotiations because I'm sure that the person would choose the same thing unless, ours end up matching what New Salem currently offers. But just keep that in mind to make sure that New Salem is willing to be the lead town. And yeah, so that's it.
Okay, that makes sense. Have we already asked you, Carolyn, I think I have, for the MOU for Nancy? All you had was something really old, right, for the previous?
Yes, that was the only thing that I had ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean-
Nancy, I asked Nancy and she said, I don't think I ever had one. We just sort of
Right.
sounds, yeah. So we might work with this one from Mendon and Blackstone, and maybe simplify it a little bit, but that's how they do it. One town is the lead and the other town gets, contributes financially. Any other questions? All right, I think it's mainly a formality for us because we've been doing it, doing it this way forever, but. So is it okay to vote on that?
yeah, we can vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that
Okay,
carries
thank you.
unanimously on voice vote.
Okay, and there's a second thing for this. I can't remember what I had last told people, but I have learned from the Comerford's office that the home rule petition, which would allow Joe to stay on after his retirement age, needs to be a town meeting vote.
Oh,
So I had said, well, if we have a spring town meeting, which we often do, would that give enough time? And they said, well, they do their best, but they sort of couldn't guarantee, sounded like, which made me think that maybe we should aim for something in February. If that seems like reasonable to everybody, having a town meeting in February. I don't know if there's any other town meeting things that need to happen. And there's a chance that Joe will come back in a week or two and say, there's no way I'll continue after retirement, so don't bother. But he still hasn't done that.
okay.
So I think we want to keep the process moving. So at this point, I would like to propose we have a special town meeting in February, if that seems reasonable. Maybe there's other things besides this. that could go on it.
Yeah, I don't know of anything that is really waiting for a town meeting, but I'd be in favor of scheduling one just to handle this.
Okay, maybe Glenn, you could send something out. Everybody
Yep.
seeing if there's anything out there.
Right, finance committee.
Yep. Just checking and I don't see anything on my list at the moment.
And I don't know if there's any, if there would be more if we waited longer later into the spring. I can't remember now how often we have a spring special or if it's more likely that it is in February or not at all, but
Yeah, it's not unusual for something to come up and having a spring meeting, but since we don't know of anything right now, it would seem sensible to try to schedule one for February.
all right. So we can go with that, maybe late February, but we can see what, if Glenn gets any other items from anybody else. And then maybe at the next meeting, we can nail down more specifics.
Sounds good.
Yep, that sounds good.
Great.
Any other thoughts on that? Oh, Guido. For D, we have scheduling of town coordinator evaluation.
Yeah, so in my contract, it calls for an annual evaluation of the coordinator in January, since I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary in this role. And to use the template that is included in the personnel policy. So I'm certainly willing and happy to do that. Just want to also give you all some context from the Personnel Policy Review Committee. We did basically have a revised evaluation form. And also there was in the personnel policy is a time period when all Wendell Town employees are supposed to be evaluated. So I'm happy to be evaluated in January, but also if now or in the future you want the coordinator's evaluation schedule to align with other town employees, you can do that as well. And I think that would be the preference of the group that was looking at the personnel policy, just to have all of us going through an evaluation process around the same time.
Mhm.
And when, is there a time set for that?
Yes, it's currently, I think, set for July, like the first month of the new fiscal year. But I wrote to Carolyn because I don't know if people ever do merit increases based on a positive evaluation, but it might be useful to have evaluations happen in advance of the fiscal year so that they could include that in the budgeting. But it's as of where we left it with the Personnel Policy Review Committee, it was still in July, I think. Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I remember it as well.
I would, my suggestion would be that we go ahead with what we have in your contract right now, but then have that discussion about whether then to just add it to the July cycle.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, that sounds
So-
fine to me. I guess I would also say July might not be the best time, both because it's the summer. And yeah, if you want to do anything differently for the budget in March, but I don't know, Personnel Committee can figure that out, I guess.
I'm not sure we'll want to reconvene for, for that.
Oh, you're all
but
done?
We're all done. I'm just, of course, having thoughts like 2 months after we wrapped up our work. So
Mm,
When will we see those changes in the personnel policy?
Carolyn, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it needs to go to the Finance Committee and to the attorney before it comes to the select board. So, and sometimes that can be a rather long process to wait for the attorney to get a chance to review it all.
Sorry, I had just stepped out of my office, but if you were you talking about when the review or the revised policy will be ready for consideration?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is that what you're, okay, so I'm hoping here in the month of January to make the final changes that the committee recommended and then get that to the select board. And my recommendation is going to be that once you review it, whatever, if you're comfortable with it, that you go ahead and approve the policy or whatever, in whatever version. We send it to town council for his review. And then if he comes back with anything significant that needs to be changed, then we make a revision. But because of the length of time that it takes him to, be able to get to something like this, I don't think we should hold up these revisions for council review.
And what about finance committee?
Well, yes, it should, the finance committee, it should get sent to them and hopefully they'll weigh in before the select board makes a final decision. So it would come to both of you basically at the same time.
Could it come to us at the money managers meeting?
No,
Too soon.
no, sorry. No, it will not be ready quite then,
Okay, all right,
but it'll be ready shortly thereafter.
okay.
good
It is
On an
opportunity.
January. People want their W-2s.
Yep.
Good opportunity to appreciate Carolyn for leading the charge on that committee yet again. And
Mhm.
some of those meetings were kind of wild and woolly, and you kept us going in the right direction, Carolyn.
Yes, thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So should the evaluation be after our next meeting? Or at our next
Well,
meeting?
let's see. So the current form is fairly extensive, so you might want to give yourselves a couple weeks to to have that form and work on it, I guess. So I would say, yeah, maybe schedule. Would you want to do it as a well, we could do it if you want to try to cram. We could try to do it as part of the meeting 2 weeks from to now, or we could schedule it as a special meeting.
I'm okay doing it as part of a regular meeting. What do you folks think?
I'm okay doing it as part of a regular meeting. It
Sure.
feels like our meetings are not super long right now, so.
Yeah,
Okay with you, Lori?
yep, that sounds good.
When will we be getting these new forms, Glenn?
Well, this would be the old forms because the new forms haven't been approved yet. I mean, you could choose to evaluate me with the new forms as a pilot if you wanted to. You're the select board, so you can really go however you want. But in the contract, it talks about using the form that's in the personnel policy, which as it stands now is this, what the policy committee thought was a rather cumbersome, long form. We streamlined it quite a bit.
Could we compare the two and then make a decision?
Don't see why. not.
Well, if you want to do it at the next meeting, you'd have to probably decide now. I mean, I could try to pull up both to share on the screen with you for you to decide which one you want to go with, but
Well,
Or we could review the forms at the next meeting and then decide and have it be, it might be the beginning of March, or I mean, February, but
yeah,
okay.
we could schedule it for our February meeting.
right.
Does
It
that
sounds
sound
good.
okay to you, Carolyn? If they decide to use the other form?
That's perfect. And I'll try and get that and anything that's sort of involved with that process in a ready state to have for you prior to your meeting, so you can include it in that meeting. And I don't know, maybe you're like Glenn recommended use it as a pilot, as, you know, to test to see how well it actually works.
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
sounds good. Thanks,
Yep.
Carol. Anything further on that item? Seeing nothing, we can proceed to E, which is opting out of vote by mail unless requested by a voter. It's presumably to save postage cost or,
I think also to save the town clerk's work.
yeah.
I have the email that she sent that basically says the select board has to vote to opt out. She said the Board of Registers convened today and recommends that the opt out of the vote by mail unless requested for the upcoming local election. And that
In
vote
other
by
words,
mail
people
would,
can still vote by mail. It's just that they need to just make the request. to
right,
do
instead
so.
of the option going to all voters, all eligible voters.
That sounds good to me. Lori?
Yeah, I guess if that's what they're recommending, it's okay with me.
Okay.
I think you
any-
will need a
So
formal motion and
I can make a motion that the town of Wendell or the select board opt out of the vote by mail unless requested for the upcoming, or no, opt out of the vote by mail, remaining keeping the option for voters out of state or with challenges to mobility, et cetera. And that vote by mail applications can be requested of the town clerk in compliance with the no excuse voting regulations in Massachusetts.
I'll
Is
second that.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Cynthia, is that motion clear?
I will have to play back the recording. It's verbatim from the actual note, so I can pick it up. No problem.
Thanks. Any further discussion? And we can vote on that. All that in favor, say aye.
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 Cliff is here.
Okay, good. So Cliff is here. And I think we can proceed right to Cliff. And the item, the agenda, which is tree hearings and wood bank. So Cliff, would you like to update us on that?
Sure. Good evening. So tree hearing, I still have not found a specific date. I am kind of home alone with kids, so it's been a little bit difficult for me to find that space to do so. If Glenn is in the office tomorrow, I'll have time along with Friday. So I think by the end of Friday, I will have a solid date and kind of have the information out to the proper channels to have a meeting selected. I think I need to get kind of what my holdup was I needed to make sure that there's no prior meeting scheduled for, whatever day we decide. And so I need to get an email from someone, I think probably from the select board, letting me know what meetings are scheduled for when for within the town so that I can avoid any overlap. That's kind of my biggest area of concern for this moment. So once I have dates that are free, or once I know the dates of other meetings, then I will more easily, or feel more at ease in terms of scheduling meeting. And then in terms of everything else. So I mean, I think one of the reasons for having this meeting tonight was there is a tree in question on the corner of John Quist Road and the main drag there. And I believe, Gillian, is that your father-in-law,
It
dad?
is
Yeah, okay.
my dad.
Your dad, that's what I thought. So, Mr. Ideween, how do you pronounce your last name?
Ideween.
Ideween, thank you. Made a request to me last year to remove a large maple tree. That I actually declined in doing so because it's pretty big and old, and I felt like it didn't need to get removed. It felt healthy. Ryan thinks that within the next 5 years, it's going to start kind of falling apart. And so with that kind of iteration and take from National Grid in terms of them being concerned about it, along with it, helping with visibility, even though taking out that tree, we'd also have to take out a few other trees to really help the visibility. I'm open to it. And I wanted to have it up as as one of the trees for the hearing so that the town can kind of decide, because I felt like it could go either way. But if the select board feels like, because Mr. Ideween is getting older and doesn't want to necessarily quickly pull out of their driveway and the other people that live on that road. And Gillian, I feel like you're a great kind of middle ground person, that if you feel like you would feel safer pulling out of that driveway without those trees there, I'm happy to give the green light to just have them be removed now and kind of surpass the hearing pertaining to those trees, because they are posing a risk to the town in that way, or to our community. So I think it's kind of, it's up to you folks of how we want to move forward with that.
And Ryan had advised that it be part of the hearing as well. And he didn't think that he thought it would be advisable to post, with more notice and all of that, a joint meeting with the tree warden and the select board.
And was that tree on the original list of the National Grid trees?
I believe so, yes.
So it's already been marked and sort of part of that first hearing.
Yes. And I held off on giving him the green light just because, in second review and with Lance, who's actually, Ryan's supervisor, is like, no, the tree seems like it's still alive. There's some branches that probably could get trimmed off to prevent any potential failure to the electric system. But then, beyond that, it's more so wanting to make sure that it's not creating a hazard for people who live on that road, on John Quist Road, in terms of them being able to access their own road and getting in and out safely. So that's more so, I feel like, what this discussion's about.
Don't you think that if the hearing is coming up relatively soon, that it won't hurt anything to wait? And so we review it with the hearing as well as making a select board decision?
That would be my go-to, but it seems like there is some anger coming from Mr. Ideween in terms of the tree not being removed immediately, which I've already received a little bit of gruff in terms of frustration and not initially complying with his request. So I'm okay with continuing to have that hearing. It feels like a fair thing to do, which would be more within my own comfort. But if the select board in this moment decided that, yes, especially Gillian, like I said, like your voice means a lot to me in this, in terms of, because I feel like you are partial and yet impartial. Like you're able to kind of hold that middle ground, and to give a good assessment of whether or not you feel safe. And I would take that into great consideration. And if you felt like, I would feel safer, or I don't feel safe with this tree there, then I would encourage the select board to just vote to have it removed now while National Grid is here, in case it takes them longer to come out. Because we could have that 2 to 3 week period until the hearing happens, but because they'll probably be out of the area by then, it could be another month or two, or it could be a week until they come back. So a lot of it is really up in the air in terms of logistics. I don't really know. They don't know when they'll come back. They say they're not sure if they can come back. They will, because they need to take care of those trees. Like, it's not really, they don't know when. So they're going to say, we don't know.
Yeah,
Sure.
Ryan has said that after they're done with their work in Orange, they would be able to come back to Wendell, but we don't know when their work in Orange will end. But again, procedurally, Ryan did recommend, I don't know if it was essentially a hearing or a joint meeting between the tree warden and the select board, but with 3 weeks notice, so I was assuming it wasn't just kind of a standard meeting like this one that we've had that needs to happen. It's more of the hearing with all of the notifications and everything that have to happen. So
You're right, Glenn, but at the same time, if it's posing a immediate risk or hazard to the town, I have the kind of carte blanche to say we can remove that tree now, I believe.
Yeah, and I think that the select board in the past has decided on certain trees. And I think if we think it's a danger, we can just go right ahead and ask the cliff remove it. I think that the tree warden is asking for the advice of one resident of the road here at the meeting as to what to do. And if Gillian wants to recuse herself from voting on this, we can listen to her feelings about the amount of danger the tree possesses and if it's important to do it quickly.
I will recuse myself from the vote because I do feel like it is a conflict of interest. The tree was brought up as a concern in terms of sightline issues. Part of the problem is that the speed of people going by around that corner seems to have increased, and it makes it more difficult to say if you can't see, you have to pull out a little bit into the road in order to be able to see cars coming. So there was a request that had been made previously. When it was marked for removal by National Grid, the assumption is that it would come down, but then it didn't come down with the latest round of tree clearing, and then we found out that it was held up. So that's when the request came.
Renewed request.
A renewed request came.
Lori, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know. Has there been any specific pushback for this particular tree from anyone who doesn't want it cut? Excuse me.
I haven't heard any.
Not specifically. I think that there's just, I think more pushback, or there was more hesitancy in terms of how I was at least approaching trees, in terms of trees that were, say, over 100 years old, or kind of what I would consider an older growth tree that is often, kind of a historical landmine, or not landmine, landmark of town. So really wanting to preserve as many of those as we can, because it seems like they're getting taken out very quickly and systematically within a lot of towns in the surrounding areas. So whatever old growth, especially maple trees, we can preserve, I'm a strong proponent of, because it's such a a scenic part of our what our town is, in my view. So I feel like I might go a little bit out of my way to preserve those trees as best I can. So that's why I was holding up on that tree, because it's still alive, it's still pretty healthy, but because it's creating a obstruction of view, that's more so why I would be open to having it removed right now, because I could still have it trimmed, but then it doesn't take away the problem of visibility. So if we're having this tree being offered to be removed for the town as is, it might make more sense just for us to do that. I feel like I'm flip-flopping in my answer in all of this. I want to,
well,
my
I
job
don't know.
is,
I don't know if it was your concern or someone else's, Cliff's, but I think that's the reason why Ryan has this, why they haven't just already taken it down, is because a complaint was lodged at some point, or objection was lodged at some point by some party. So that's, I think, why it hasn't already been taken down. And that's why he's recommending the the full hearing. But if Cliff is the person who has raised the concern and no one else has, the fears about blowback from the community for taking down this particular tree may not be something you need to worry about. It's just that the process of taking down trees it creates liability concerns because there is law about how this all needs to take place, so.
I'm open to whatever. It seems like, Gillian, I'm not sure if you have a good read from your dad in terms of his pertinence to get this complete, but if you feel like he would be patient enough to hold off for the, 2 or 3 weeks until we have our hearing, and he's welcome to come voice his concerns. But I feel like, having that tree removed because it's going to be falling apart anyways within the next few years, to have it, I would say we just go ahead and let it be removed sooner than later, honestly, because it's going to need to be removed anyways. And that way the visibility isn't a concern anymore. National Grid's taking care of the tree and the other trees that are kind of adjacent to it.
Yeah, I would just add that in terms of Michael Lidween's character, that it's unquestionable because of all the time he served for the town. And so I would just suggest that he's not doing this as just as a personal request, but that he really has the interest of the town in mind when he makes his insistence known about it. And I think he's probably genuinely concerned for safety on the road and safety on John Quist Road. So I do put a lot of weight on that. And therefore, I think I would be in favor of removing it right away. But Lori?
I think I would also.
Okay, so I move that we removal of the tree at the intersection of John Quist Road and Wendell Depot Road immediately.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll abstain.
So that passes on a voice vote with a simple majority. And thank you for Cliff for your even-handed approach.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
And I apologize if I came off as feeling or coming, saying that, I don't know, if it felt like I was being, I'm not sure, judgmental of Mr. Eileen.
No.
I don't know him except from that one interaction, but I definitely felt the passion for sure. And you're right that there is certainly a place of caring for others than himself and everyone on that road. And I guess the only motion I might make is to see if they can if we're taking out that tree, it might make sense to see if National Grid is willing to take out a few other of those trees in that area to really open it up for, to create a clear view for that road. There's, I think, 3 other trees. There's one that is degraded. And the other ones, maybe we can just have the town take, or I can get Matt Edwards, but to just see what National Grid would be willing to take in that little section so that it really is a clear, like really unobstructed for people in that road.
Are those other trees marked?
I'm not sure, but I might be able to get National Grid to take at least one of the larger ones out. I think when I was looking, the reason why I said no to him initially was because even if you take out that large tree, it's still, you have 3 other trees obstructing the majority of that view. So you'd get maybe another 7 to 10 feet back, but there's, like I said, another, I think, oak tree or maple tree next to it that's blocking almost as much as it is. So I can review those trees tomorrow. I can take a look and see what there is and talk to Brian and see what they can do. I don't know.
Well, I would suggest putting those trees on the hearing.
Okay, makes sense. And then in terms of logistics now, because we are superseding the second hearing, I'm wondering if there needs to be a notification or a sign, something from select board that gives National Grid permission to remove that tree more
I
quickly.
think I
Or,
can just email Ryan and let him know the select board deliberated about this tonight and what they decided.
okay, sounds great.
And I'm not in the office tomorrow or Friday, Cliff, but I am available for meeting by phone or Zoom. So I don't, I'll email you my cell phone. I don't know if you're on a cell phone, but we could text to find a time with each other. I know that you're not always able to schedule things at rigid times, so try to be available to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I think that there's an email with my cell phone attached to it. If not, I'll send that to you later on tonight, Glenn, with my cell phone. And if you have an iPhone, I'll get your messages. If not, I won't.
I'm on Android. Okay.
All right, then maybe email might be the best way to be in touch with each other for the moment.
Okay. I'll keep a close eye on email.
Fantastic. All right, thank you, everyone. Any other questions before I go put kids to bed?
Hey,
Nothing?
No,
Okey dokey.
thank you, Cliff.
Roll
Yep.
call. Oh, I actually had a quick question. In terms of, so a lot of homeowners have asked permission to keep the wood that National Grid has cut down along the roadside. I'm wondering if we want to give people X amount of time to take those logs off the side of the road. And then I'm not sure what to do after that. If we need to, because I don't have the ability to remove those logs per se. Like we don't have a log truck or anything that would cost the town money to do that. But I'm worried about it kind of posing a hazard, just having a lot of downed trees on the side of the road that, you know, landowners can just take away at their own discretion. But that could be months, if not longer.
Oh, are they taking any trees to the wood bank site at this point?
They
Right.
are. They're taking the ones that are on town land. Yes, my love. You're thirsty. Okay, I'll get you some water. Give me a second. I believe they're taking the trees that are on town property to the wood bank, but the trees that are being removed on private property are being left for the most part there, especially if people are requesting for that to happen. But you know, that means there's 75 trees that have been cut on people's property that, you know, well, I've seen maybe half have been brought, you know, bucked up and brought back onto people's, like out of the roadway, but there's a lot of trees still hanging out on the side of the road.
But the trees are on private property.
Correct, but they are still on the side of the road. I don't know. I haven't measured to see if they're all within, you know, the jurisdiction of their land, or if it's on actually the road itself still, you know, that 12-foot or 15-foot easement. So, you know, I could check that, but I'm just worried that it's going to be posing a hazard when they're trying to mow down the line. If there's big storms, they're plowing and stuff. It's close enough, some of these trees, to the side of the road. I don't want them to be sitting there forever. So I'm not sure what to do or how to move that process along of encouraging people to, you know, collect their wood and move it, you know, further back away from the road, and how long we want to give the town to be able to do that before, you know, before we move it.
Well, I think that if the trees are on private property, then it's really not the town's position or responsibility to deal with them. If they're somewhat close to the road, we can encourage the private property owners to deal with it or move it back further. But I would just concentrate on all the logs, trees that are on town property for now and get them moved to the wood bank.
Have they not been? From what I don't know the town.
Maybe they
boundaries.
are. That's why I asked the question. Maybe they are.
I think they are. I was worried that a lot of the trees I was seeing were on town property, but when I talked to Lance Wade, he said that he believed that all the trees that are there are privately owned trees at this point. So everything is either at the wood bank or has been hauled off to, wood chips and stuff.
Well, that's good. And frankly, Cliff, I wouldn't worry too much about material that's on private property for the time being.
Okay,
Let's
as long as you,
concentrate on what's on town property.
makes sense. As long as we're not worried about it being a hazard to, the mowers or the plows, then I'm not worried about it. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't an issue.
I haven't, just from driving on the road, I haven't noticed anything that I felt concerned about being too close to the road.
Great. Okay. Well, then I will let that one go because I was definitely didn't want to start getting flack for that one of a bunch of trees close.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about that right now. Let's just go for the town owned stuff.
Cool. I can do that.
Great. Thank you, Cliff.
Of course. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Good night to the kids.
Thank you.
Anything further on the trees? Well, we're getting down there, down to F, I guess, adding early voting hours 17 days prior to election on May 1.
That was in addition to the town clerk asked us to vote. To adding early voting hours 17 days prior to the election on May 1st. I think it just needs to be I make a motion that we add early voting hours 17 days prior to the election on May 1st. 2026.
Right. My only question is, when do those early voting hours occur? Somewhere within the 17 days that
Prior
she
to,
will post at a
yes.
certain time.
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Is this just a one-time? Like, do we have to do this every year, or is this something we do and it's, I guess the election isn't always on May 1st, is it? Okay. That's fine with me.
Then I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that carries unanimously on a voice vote. And any topics not reasonably anticipated?
Yes, there's the ski and skate sale from the library that didn't make it on the agenda. And I'm less familiar with this, came in during the break. Wanted permission to use the town hall either Saturday the 7th or Saturday the 14th. There is that dance group that's trying to get organized for regular Saturday afternoon things that you all approved, but they don't have a date yet. They may be accommodating of wanting to work around the library.
Yeah, I think this is proposed for the 14th, I think at this point, so that's coming up pretty quick, and it sounded like the dance group was planning on putting it off a little bit later to the month.
Yep.
And this is only for an hour and a half from 10 to 11:30.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think the dance group was in the afternoon,
Yeah.
so I don't even think it would conflict.
Okay, good. Any discussion on that? Approving the use of the town hall on January 14th from 10 to 11:30 for the ski and skate sale.
Sounds
I
good to me.
support it, sounds like a great idea.
Yep, same here.
Okey doke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that carries unanimously on a voice vote. Any further topics not anticipated?
There was something that was on my mind, and now I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, to announce the new full-time police officer
Oh,
that
yeah.
was hired in Leverett. So to officially, it's public information, but to officially announce that Megan Gallo is the new full-time police officer. So she's moved from a part-time to a full-time position. And the other candidate that we felt strongly about, and unfortunately, I'm not going to remember her name at the moment, was hired for Megan's part-time position.
Mhm.
So we have another woman on the force in Leverett serving Wendell as well.
Great.
Yeah, great. And Megan is still the animal control officer.
And Megan is still the animal control officer.
Yeah, and I've already heard good reports about her in that job. People are happy that she's doing it.
Yes. And it's Officer Dalpe, D-A-L-P-E, is in the part-time position. Allison is her first name. There we go. But that was all I had.
Okay, great. I don't have any items under that heading. Lori's shaking her head no.
No,
So it sounds like that does it in record time. What an efficient organization. Then we can declare this meeting adjourned at, I guess it must be close to 8:20.
8:17.
8:17. I'll second.
Motion been made and second to adjourn at 8:17. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
hi.
Aye. Great. Thanks to everybody for coming.
Thank you.